Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Callan, State Representative for Washington's 5th Legislative District. As hard as it is to believe, we've reached the end of the 2022 legislative session. This fast-paced, 60-day short session can sometimes feel like a whirlwind, and this year was no exception. Though we had some very long days and some very, very late nights, I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish this year, especially when it comes to the historic investments we were able to put back into our communities. With some help with some one-time additional federal revenue to assist our state in overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic, we had the unique opportunity to leverage those funds to meet the many challenges Washington families are facing every day. I have the distinct privilege of serving as the Vice Chair of the House Capital Budget Committee, where we're tasked with carefully considering state investments in buildings and other physical infrastructure throughout the state. Those can include investments in affordable housing and shelter for families, broadband and water system upgrades, K-12 improvements, and more. Over the last 60 days, we were able to put together a supplemental capital budget that is centered around jobs, economic growth, and supporting our Washington families. And best of all, we did it with broad bipartisan support because everyone, both Democrat and Republican, had a seat at the table. This budget includes $439 million to provide affordable housing and shelter to those who need it, $308 million for essential infrastructure projects like clean water grants, economic revitalization, and projects managed by our Public Works Board, $100 million to expand access to broadband internet in our underserved and underserved communities. We also dedicated $271 million to protect our water from pollution and help our salmon recover. $101 million for home weatherization, energy efficiency, solar projects to lower energy costs for our low-income residents. But most important, one of my top priorities, we also included $111 million to help address our current behavioral health crisis and another $101 million to support Washington students. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating effect on all of us, but our young people have been hit the hardest. This budget provides funding for residential crisis triage and stabilization facilities, community behavioral health grants, and more. It also dedicates funding to provide our K-12 schools with the seismic upgrades they need to keep our students and staff safe during natural disasters. We've also been able to expand our support for our early learning facilities and our historically distressed schools so that every child has a chance for success. I could talk all day about the great things that are included in this year's supplemental capital budget, but I also want to briefly mention some of the investments that were important to the families in the 5th Legislative District. First off, we're finally getting the funding we need to widen State Route 18 over Tiger Mountain. This has been a major priority for our region for more than 2 decades. And I want to thank my friend and 5th Legislative District colleague, Rep. Ramos, for helping get that over the finish line, and our partner, Senator Mullet, in the Senate. We've also seen funding for the Maple Valley pedestrian bridge over State Route 169, improvements to the 405-167 corridor, and the widening of I-90 through Snoqualmie Pass, and support for our salmon. I'm also pleased to say the supplemental operating budget will include a proviso I submitted to create a regional behavioral health coordinator pilot program for the Snoqualmie Valley. Like I said at the beginning, I'm proud of the work we did this year, but none of it would have been possible without the continued engagement of all of you in the community. The investments we made this year were a priority for us because they were priorities for you. Never stop fighting for what matters most to you, and know that we'll never stop fighting for our community.